everyone. Welcome back to the channel. As a and talk about issues related to the security industry while I'm headed on the road. If you like the live stream format where some people might think that there's too much talking going on and too much gibberish, this probably isn't the video for you. These videos are live. They're not planned. Well, they're planned a little bit, but I can't cut the video because it's obviously live, right? Wherever you are in the world chiming in, please press the like button, subscribe, share, and comment. If you're not a member, it might be a good idea that if you want to start a security company or you want special information to probably become a member. There's a membership called the Sergeant Special, and you get access to exclusive videos. I just uploaded a video about a week ago about badges and badges in California. There's some modifications. If you are trying to start a security company in California, you probably want to watch that video, which I'll release anyways. All of these exclusive videos, I end up releasing anyways. It takes sometimes a couple of days or sometimes weeks, but if you're a member, you get access to these videos immediately. And if you put in a request, just comment on one of those exclusive only videos, and I'll probably address that question first. It's one of the ways that we can monetize the channel. Anyhow, I had a subscriber that asked about WML, weapon mounted lights, and basically says his employer isn't allowing him to carry one on his weapon, on his sidearm, on his handgun. I really like to answer these questions about weapons and everything else. I get really excited talking about these types of issues. This issue can also, it's also a concern because some employers don't allow you to carry a red dot optic, a pistol mounted optic, also known as a PMO, or they don't allow you to carry a taser, right? Or pepper spray or something else. So this video kind of addresses those employers that don't allow you to carry some of these things. The first question that I want to ask you guys is, do you absolutely need that weapon or that tool? And then second, is this employer worth it? Meaning, if you don't get to carry your tool, is this an employer that's worth leaving? Because there's probably a lot of good employers out there who are ill-informed that don't allow you to carry some things, but you know, I think it might be worthwhile staying. In the late 90s, I worked for professional security consultants, PSC, and you know, they kind of had a unique way of supervising, a little aggressive way, a little bit rude way of aggressing, but they really gave me some awesome opportunities. And they were a completely unarmed security company. Like, when I say unarmed, I mean nothing. There's no pepper spray, nothing. I didn't care. I always carried pepper spray, a knife on me. I had a handgun somewhere. I don't follow rules, and I don't encourage you guys to break rules either, right? And if you break the rules, then you have to be held accountable, and don't complain about it later. Okay, so let's address weapon mounted light. Now, I'm so old to be part of the evolution of lights, right? I had one of the earlier generations of Surefire when they were located in Fountain Valley, I think. And you're talking about like a real candlelight bulb, right? Indescendant. Oh my goodness, I can't even pronounce it. My English is always off. But anyhow, it was your real candle power light, right? And when I say candle power, I'm not talking about a damn candle that was lit. I'm talking about the bulbs that you have to change, right? I don't remember the brand of it, but anyhow, I became part of the light evolution, right? A little bit late, maybe 10 or 15 years too late, but I was part of it, right? Weapon mounted lights were not a thing. My first security duty gun was a 6-hour 2269 9mm, and it didn't have a rail. And in those days, you didn't look for a rail because there wasn't a lot of, I can't remember any weapon mounted lights would be able to attach to that 1913 rail. Like, I don't even know if there were invented back then. It's just something you weren't looking for. And I think the primary reason is the lights just weren't bright enough, right? And they were just not designed to be on pistols. And then if so, there wasn't really a lot of holsters that would accommodate a light, a weapon-mounted light and pistol combination. And if there was, you'd have to do some customization on it. It just wasn't a thing, right? So what you would revert to in those days is basically having a handheld a handheld light. You would hold it in the Harry's technique. Jeez, I can't do that when I'm driving, but like this. Did it real fast. Or use the FBI technique. If I had my handgun in my left hand, I would hold it overhand like this. And this is not a good demo because I can only go so far in my car, right? So those are the techniques. I think we got decent at it, but nothing beats the stability of a weapon-mounted light, and we'll talk about that. So, early 2000s, 2 decades ago, I was involved in a situation where I had to do a magazine change. All my rounds went all over the place. I mean, luckily I didn't hit anybody, and literally I didn't hit anybody, right? I missed a lot, but I will tell you that I had issues positively identifying the threat, right? And I wasn't really used to shooting with one hand while illuminating the threat with another hand. So all the rounds went all over the place. Around that time, some of us tried to install a weapon-mounted light on our guns, and this is the second law enforcement agency I worked for, or first. The command at the time said no weapon-mounted lights. They said none. You can't have any. None whatsoever. So that's why, one of the reasons why I didn't have any. And then after that incident, I said, I don't really care what administration thinks. I'm going to put one on my light anyways. I'm going to put one on my gun anyways. I'm sorry. When you have a weapon-mounted light on a handgun, it increases the stability of the pistol, and your accuracy actually increases because you're able to stabilize the pistol a lot better. I mean, there's no better, I want to say in a life-death situation, many times there's no better light source than the one that comes from a weapon-mounted light. I mean, you can stabilize it. Also, the cool thing is, in the middle of the beam is probably where your barrel's at. So wherever the tightness of the beam is, like the strongest point, that's most likely where the barrel is going to be. And you could kind of, in a way, passively aim like that. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but let's just say if you have no sights, you can't see the back plate of your pistol, you can't see the hammer of your pistol, you can't see the rear of the pistol, you can't see anything at all. That center beam of the light is where your muzzle is most likely going to be, and your shots are going to be somewhere in that area. And that's the neat thing about weapon-mounted lights. Now, I will tell you, again, I'm part of this evolution of lights. One of the reasons I think that employers will not allow you to carry a light or mount it on your pistol is because, well, think about it, guys. If you work in private security or law enforcement and you have no light, you have no handheld light, or that goes out, what are you going to maybe do? And I've seen some videos in the early 2010s where police officers are giving like DUI suspects a field sobriety test, and it looks like they don't have a light, and they use their weapon-mounted light. Like, they have their handgun out, and they turn on their weapon-mounted light, and they're illuminating a sidewalk with it. Like, doing stupid stuff like that. And I understand that happens a lot. Actually, it happens more than I want to admit, right? You don't have a light, so you use a weapon-mounted light. Okay? I've seen the same thing with tasers, guys. I've seen it in security done, and I've seen it in law enforcement. These guys, they forget to charge their lights. They have no other choice in their opinion, and then they use a taser light. If it was me, if I ran a security company, I know that I have a lot of, I hate to say this, but a lot of the line staff and even supervision are bottom dwellers. with the exception of those who are subscribed to this channel. If you're subscribed to this channel, you probably operate on a higher level of understanding, of learning. But I'm talking about maybe your coworker. I'm talking about probably my coworkers, right? You don't get the top pick. So that's what we see is with tasers. Some people will use it as a light source. If it was me, if I ran a security company, knowing that I may not have the best of staff, I'm going to shut those lights off. I'm going to program it so that the lights shut off. And maybe if I get somebody smart enough to be able to turn the light on, you know what? Maybe that security officer is intelligent enough, because they're able to turn on the damn light on the taser. Maybe they're intelligent enough to know that that is only to be used in a taser situation to illuminate, to positively identify the suspect, positively identify the threat. So again, for me, if I'm operating a security company, I'd shut those lights. Even, I'm even thinking about law enforcement, man. There's a good chance I might be in charge of the taser program. I might just automatically, when the new tasers come out, just shut off all the lights. Because I know officers, like, I know police officers, I know security officers. If they're clearing a building, and let's just say they go from day shift to nights, I can almost assure you that their lights are not going to last one night or maybe only a week on the weapon-mounted light. So what happens many times is when the weapon-mounted light doesn't work, they're like, oh, screw this. I'll just use whatever else is there. My weapon-mounted light is not working today because I forgot to charge it too. So let me just use a light from the taser and let me clear buildings with a taser, which is not really an intelligent thing to do unless you have a lethal alternative or a lethal force option backing up that less lethal force. That's what happens, guys. They're going to start clearing these buildings with a taser. And some of you guys watching these videos, you're probably clearing your buildings with tasers already, which that's a topic of another story. So to the credit of these employers that say no, I actually understand their perspective. My advice to these employers, and they might be watching this video, is to train your employees on how to use their weapon-mounted light. So if you deny weapon-mounted lights in the workplace, at least give them an option of training. Like, have them train with their weapon-mounted lights and have them train with a handheld light. Handheld light to pistol transition, something like that. Using the Harry's FBI technique. You could use the Masad Ayub technique, which is a technique I do not like. The Surefire cigar technique. You can use all of these techniques. Train your staff in these techniques if you know what you're doing. Most security employers don't know what they're doing, so they need to hire somebody that does, which is fine, or contract out that work. But train. So the subscriber told me in the comments that his employer doesn't also, so they're not allowed to have a weapon-mounted light, first. And the second, there's no training on how to use a handheld light with a pistol. And guys, it's a little bit confusing. So when we do the drills on the line at night in a low light environment, when they go from a handheld light to a firearm, there's a huge delay in time. I mean, sometimes 5 seconds, sometimes 6 seconds, because it's almost like they're fishing to find the source of the threat, right? And unlike the weapon-mounted light, wherever the center of the beam is on that handheld light, that's not where the barrel is. And you have to kind of coordinate the barrel with the light. But it requires some practice. And matter of fact, law enforcement, they have to train every single year. Law enforcement in every single state has to train at least once a year, or they need some type of low light training on a regular basis. There's several appellate case decisions that make that mandatory. I don't know of a lot of competent law enforcement agencies that have a policy that don't require low light shooting. I mean, it is a requirement. Let me just go through the comments real quick, because while I'm driving, I'll address the other part of this conversation. Jack Spade is here. Mike from the Professional Security Journal is here. Thank you so much for moderating the channel, sir. We love you. Giannis, Angel, from Yanis Protective Services. Welcome, sir. The Security Body Cam channel. Welcome, sir. Good to see you here. Jack Spade says he misses the security body cam uploads. Mike says, on the topic, Sean, Intercom won't let us carry red dots with RTC, LV Transit, but that's because our Glock 17s are actually shipped from Cali. Ooh, okay. We get Gen 3s that literally can't take optics. Ah, okay. Oh, okay. Nomad, Nomad 77. He corrected my English. I tell you guys that English was not my first language. I guess that's just an excuse for me messing it all up. Yeah, it's called incandescent. Incandescent. He even made it a mnemonic for me. Mnemonic, bubonic. No, that's a disease. He made it. Is it? I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Anyhow, it's called incandescent bulbs. Okay, in the late 90s, one of my Surefire handheld lights had an incandescent bulb. Yanis said, what I see is the employee does not want to spend the money or invest in the gear. Absolutely not. Professional Security Journal says weapon mounted lights are good to go, and transit contact the client. RTC doesn't want to allow tasers. And then Mike is talking about a setup. Security body cam says using a weapon mounted light as a flashlight replacement. I don't think so. No. Robert says, I work security where they let us carry a gun, nothing else. I felt that's wrong. That is wrong. All right, guys. So I'm not going to be able to address any of the comments. If you guys have any comments afterwards, comment in the regular comment section box, and I'll address it, or our YouTube community will address your answer for sure. Okay, so there's some companies that don't allow the red dots. Obviously, Mike from the Professional Security Journal says, hey, the RTC transit contract doesn't allow red dots because you're using a Glock 17. You cannot mount a red dot on a Glock 17 unless you make some modifications. And oh my goodness, I use the M word. You can't use modifications on Instagram. That's like a no word. But anyhow, that's why. And it'll probably be maybe too expensive for them. Like if you change the barrels, you get it milled, you're basically taking some of the weapons out of the inventory for who knows how long. So I get it. Okay, I understand. And then they're shipped from California, which you're kind of stuck with a Gen 3. If you want a Glock 17 that has, now my Glock fanboys, let me know if I'm wrong, but basically if you wanted a Glock 17 that has a red dot adaptation system to it, it's a Glock 47. And if you want an inbreed between a Glock 19 barrel length and a Glock 17 grip, it's called the Glock 45. And I believe the MOS version and maybe both of those pistols, which they're actually issued to me at my work, they're red dot compatible. Anyhow, for the companies that are not allowing red dots, guys, don't get mad, don't get upset. I don't think it's time to leave the company. I think the issue is, I mean, if I'm a security company owner, my first question is going to be, do you have any training with the red dots? Because actually, you can be slower. When you mount a red dot, you can actually be slower with getting shots on target because there's a learning curve involved. If your presentation isn't perfect, so to speak, the first time around, that shot is not going to go where you want it to go. Like, I guess in exact terms, right? The presentation, sometimes with the red dots, I tell my students that if you don't see the dot, most likely it's too high, and you got to just tighten the wrist a little bit and kind of apply it in a downward motion, like a little bit like flicking the wrist downwards, and then you'll find the dot. But if that's part of your drill, every time you present and then you need to flicker it down or present it down a little bit, your drill is defunct and you probably need some more practice. You probably need some professional instruction. Now, a lot of security officers, police officers, they don't get any red dot training, and sometimes they're just issued it, right? Sometimes security guards, they look on YouTube and they see that a red dot is something cool to do, and then they just mount it without even understanding how to use it. If that's the case as a security company owner, I'm gonna say no red dots. However, if I have a security officer that's persistent, I'm gonna listen. And my explanation is it's faster without the dot. And what I'm expecting this security officer to do is this. Hey boss, can you accompany me to the range? And I want to show you that I'm a lot faster and efficient with the red dot. The boss says okay. Security officer and the boss are at the range. Security staff shows the boss that they can be a lot faster and accurate with the red dot. As a security company leader, I'm sold. I am totally sold. Hey, you can have a red dot. Thank you for showing that to me. And that's what you might get. You might get a lot of boomers. I guess Generation X and Y and Z, and I don't know what generation it is. I'm the generation after the baby boomers. I don't even know what generation that is, right? And I'm kind of like, it kind of mixed between baby boomers and millennials. But don't ever put me on the same scale as a millennial, because I'll get mad. Anyhow, the boomers, okay, they'll say, you know what? Nah, back in my days, we didn't need a red dot. We were fine. I got in 1 or 2 gunfights or shooting situations. I survived. I was accurate. I hit him in the chest. End of story. You're not going to carry red dot. You get those types of people, but some of them are actually willing to listen. I mean, if I can get somebody that proves me wrong, I'll listen, right? And I understand that not a lot of security company leaders are like that, right? It's my way, not your way. Take the highway, so to speak. So that's my opinion with the red dots. Now, if your employer doesn't allow you to carry a red dot or use a red dot or mount a red dot, should you just leave that employer? Well, ask yourself, are they worth salvaging, right? Is this employer worth staying with? And a lot of employers are worth it. Guys, you can make it work with iron sights. And if it was me and I could customize my gun a little bit, I would probably add high visibility sights. At least the front sight would be the extra big, the extra orange ones, right? The high visibility ones. I honestly would not put fiber optics on a duty gun. I'm actually trying to change that on mine, just because they break very easy. I had like 3 or 4 already break on me. But that's topic of another discussion, right? I mean, you can make it work. There is champions, like pistol champions, USPA, that have won world titles without the red dot. All it is it's a tool. And even the champions are advocating for the red dot or the green dot, right? Okay, tasers. Hey, my employer doesn't allow me to carry a taser. First, ask yourself this. Is this employer worth staying with? And if they are, or they're not, what they are, can you make do with the weapons on your tool belt? And again, I don't want to date myself, but I carry in a law enforcement role and security role, I've carried a baton, pepper spray, a firearm, and I was fine without a taser. Matter of fact, you guys know me. I do not like tasers. I understand that they're a tool though, and I do have one with me when I go to work. It's just a tool, right? What I don't like is the over dependence on tasers. You can always see on YouTube or social media a bunch of cops in these use of force situations. they all have tasers out, and nobody has nothing in their hand. I mean, if you have a group of like 7 officers or 5 officers, at least one person, maybe even 2, should just have nothing in their hand. Maybe a radio, maybe a flashlight, but not everybody needs a taser. What happens is, because everybody has a taser in their hand, nobody grabs the person. Nobody grabs the person, nobody goes hands on, they don't want to use the handcuffs. That's what usually happens. And then also, the training for security is subpar when it comes to tasers. There's, like in California, there's no taser standard. You could take a 2-hour class, a 3-hour class, by an instructor that hasn't even went to any of the taser instructor courses, right? Maybe they took some online class that was like an hour long back east. Like, there's no qualifications to be a taser, and then they're training you on all these classes. Again, I don't have a lot of confidence with a lot of the taser instructors that are out there, especially in the security role. Law enforcement, I have a little bit more confidence, because this 2-year expiration date that Axon places on these instructors, it's something. And these lower level thinkers think, hey, there's an expiration date, I better get my officers recertified, because we're not legally allowed to certify officers if there's an expiration date, which is a fallacy, and that's a topic of another story. But I just don't think there's enough taser training going on in the security world. And then I have some doubts in the law enforcement world as well. Okay, but guys, can you function without a taser? I am not the biggest person. I'm like 5'6.5", I guess. Southeast Asian, probably malnourished, but fed pretty good at the same time, which doesn't make sense, I know. And I'm not saying like you should look at me as a case study, but I've done okay without a taser. I've used it where it helps, but I've done okay with it. So if your security company is not allowing you to carry some of these things, is it worth salvaging, is the question you should ask. And also, for the armed contracts that only allow you to carry armed, no less lethal tools, I have a huge problem with that. Okay? Because all they're really arming you with is your hands and a lethal option. And the question is, do they put you through arrest and control or defensive tactics training on a regular basis? I'm not saying that you should go hands on a knife fight or a fight with a deadly weapon. I'm just saying, like, that's your less lethal alternative is your hands, and are you being adequately trained? And the answer is probably no. If you work for Brinks, I'm pretty sure, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, guys. I never worked for armored companies, armored transport, but I'm pretty sure they're not putting you through arrest and control tactics with just hands on. I would, that's one of these employers where I would ask, is it worth salvaging? Because in the end, I'm going to be asked, how come I didn't went to a less lethal option? And my answer is going to be, well, my employer doesn't allow me to carry that. Okay, well, you might be sued individually. Your employer may or may not back you up. They're supposed to back you up, but at the end of the day, you have some explaining to do. And I'm not saying that you're guilty or you're culpable of negligence if you don't have less lethal alternative. I'm just saying that you're going to have to explain these things, especially when your back is on a wall. And I've been there before. My back has been against a wall, and they take your weapon, they take your duty belt, and they start photographing you. Right. Well, actually, everything gets kept on, and then they photograph you, and then they have you remove everything, and they take everything for evidence. Right. And then later on, if you waive your right to Miranda, and there are some advantages to that, and there's some disadvantages to that as well. But if you waive your right to Miranda, you're going to have to explain why you didn't have any less lethal alternatives. And if you explain that your employer doesn't allow that, that could be a defense. I don't know your situation. I hope you're never involved in one of these situations. I could tell you that when somebody has read me my Miranda rights, it's a life-changing event. It's a life-changing event. And what I want you guys to do is learn from people who have had these unfair, not unfair, well, in a way they might be seen unfair experiences. Talk to them, ask them what it's like, because you can go through the same thing. That's all I got. I'm looking forward to your comments, your dialogue. You guys, please take care and please be safe out there tonight and every single night. I'm out.